Hey everyone. Look, this just brought shivers to my body when I read that Elon Musk had just bought Twitter. Now, shivers not in a bad way, just, absolutely fascinating. Look, we can discuss so many things about this purchase. We can talk about the changes to the platform, to shareholders, to finance, but I want to touch on two things that were really key. One is culture and one is leadership, because that's going to make the difference. Now, you've heard the saying that, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And some say that, culture eats everything, really. Now, why do people say that? Mainly because a business is not made up of bricks and mortar, or these days of a computer and an internet to basically make things happen. It's the people that are doing this. Every single process, behind every single system, behind every single decision, there is a person involved. The accounts department is made up of people. The risk department is made up of people. So when you get people in a business, you basically get a type of culture. And the type of culture depends on very much the people and leadership. Now, you can really understand the culture of a business once you're in it, or even once you step into it. You feel it. You can sense the culture and what people are all about, how decisions are made around here, you know, how meetings take place, what is important, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. These are not determined by a building. This is determined by the people in the building. And yes, one person, especially one person at a leadership position, can absolutely change culture. And this is why I like to focus on leadership. This is why I like to focus on culture, because the leaders that we have will determine to a most degree about how it feels like to work in that place. Now, let's have a look at this. Musk just bought Twitter. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, who knows? Obviously, both parties decided that it was a benefit for them, for both parties to make that decision. Now, what I'm interested in is about the people. How is this going to affect the people? What will happen? Will the people stay or will the people leave? Now, knowing what we know, let's have a look at Twitter. Now, Twitter did an employee survey quite recently, and most of the employees at Twitter believe very much that the environment at Twitter is very positive. Most people believe that the pace of the work at Twitter is actually quite comfortably fast, but comfortable. And 63% of the employees work 8 hours or less, but only 6% have really long days, longer than 12 hours. Now, Twitter describes itself as extremely diverse. Diversity is something they pride themselves on. They want people to come to work as they are, quite effortlessly. Now, there also seems to be a culture of true servant leadership that they have. This means that they genuinely care about their people, they genuinely care and prioritize their employees and prioritize their personal and their professional growth. So that's important to them. Twitter's values also reflect that. Their values are very much about being fast, being free, and having fun. Now, we should move fast, we should feel free to be ourselves, is what they say, and we should have fun in the process. Now, some previous people that have worked in Twitter still write amazing things about the company, even once they've actually left. For example, they've said things like, our team meetings on the roof were the best. Great teamwork and a lot of smart people. Obviously, they have a roof, which is awesome. Another one said, I love how the core values really drive the company to always be better. So that means they've invested a lot of those values. Now, this is not surprising, as the main purpose of the company is to connect people and allow people to share their thoughts with a very big audience. That's simply what they do. That's what they're all about. That's who they are. And that seems to be reflected in the kind of people that they hire as well and how they function into the business. Now, what happens when now Musk will own the business? Now, interestingly, about 200 employees of Twitter did an anonymous survey online about how they felt about the takeover. 44% said that they were quite neutral on Musk. 27% said that they absolutely adored him, and 27% said that they absolutely despised him. Now, why is that? Now, my guess, based on research and experience, always depends on people's fit. Now, the 27% who were positive obviously like what they see in the media about him, also about his companies, and they're obviously seeing how Tesla, for example, really performs, and they probably have similar values and fit with not only Tesla but also Musk. Now, the other 27% and the remaining 44 is kind of on the fence, seeing what happens, because they want to experience him themselves, and the rest really don't see themselves as a fit. Now, it seems to me that Twitter is quite different to the way that Musk operates. So let's take Tesla, for example. Tesla's values are doing the best, taking risks, respect, constantly learning, and having environmental consciousness. Now, this is a little bit different to Twitter's, which was about being free, being fast, and having lots of fun. Though being fast and free may be aligned, but we really need to unpack that really and understand, what does Twitter mean by when they say being fast and free? And what does Tesla, for example, mean by taking risks and constantly learning? Because I can see a little bit of synergies between those two. Now, one big different thing with Tesla is that it really wants a culture to empower its people to think creatively. Creativity is a big part of their work, and to look for solutions that's always going to improve the company and set it apart from competitors across the industries. Now, I'm sure that Twitter does that too. However, the leadership that both businesses have will drive the business in a very different way and how they get to that outcome. Now, by the sounds of it, Twitter is sounds a lot more inclusive to me than Tesla, who is mainly driven by strategy and outcome. So, how they do that might not be very inclusive. Twitter is famously known for its very laid back culture. It always has. And this really reflects the leadership style of the business. Now, Musk, however, is basically, he said that he's a micromanager. He said that many times. And for years, Twitter has basically prided itself on fostering open conversations, creating a safe space for dialogue, in his office or outside of the office, and really focused on equality and diversity. Tesla, on the other hand, and also SpaceX, they're known for really demanding company cultures and constantly working towards it. Musk himself has previously been accused of, flying into rages, for example, with his employees and exploding at his managers. Now, one of a female engineer at SpaceX, has actually written down an essay and has accused the company of having a very sexist culture. In one instant, for example, Musk actually berated a group of people that work for him that were currently working for one of the sedan lines, saying that their work was completely shite and demanding that the engineers state, you know, who the hell are you and how are you going to fix my goddamn line, is what he said. He used the F word, but I won't do that. Now, Musk has also been accused of firing those that he disagrees with. In 2006, for example, one of his head of marketing, Jessica Schweitzer, spent quite a bit of money that he thought was unnecessary ahead of his first reveal party. Now, he had her leave and a public relations firm also go, according to what's on public records. Now, Musk also said in his release announcing his Twitter takeover that he wants to make the companies a little bit more open source. He wants to authenticate all human beings, and he wants to also be a bit more widespread on the platform. He also wants to emphasize free speech. That's a big one for him at the moment. And some people at Twitter are a little bit worried about that. Twitter employees are basically saying that, most of us believe that Twitter is much more than a tech platform. We have a very deep responsibility to society. And they're saying, quote for quote, I hope that our new owner gets that. Now, whereas Musk has very openly said, look, I have OCD. I always see what's wrong. When I see a car or a rocket or a spacecraft, I never see what's right with it. I always see what's wrong. Now, Musk is also recognizing that this is not a recipe for happiness. Now, which is exactly what Twitter is based on. Twitter is based on fun and happiness and inclusivity. Now, Tesla's employees already say that if you work for Musk, your family is going to miss you, and you will miss, you will really feel the effects of stress resulting from Musk's crazy schedules that he sets for his company, which is interesting because Twitter's values were all about being yourself, enjoying yourself, having a life. Now, as you can see, the next few weeks and the next few months are going to be extremely difficult and interesting for some people, especially from a culture and leadership perspective at Twitter. I'm guessing that some will leave, some will start to look to leave, and some will stay. And, they'll probably just wait a year or so and see how it goes. And some would absolutely love what's happening, because that's what usually happens when new leadership comes into place. Everyone's got their ears pricked up. Everyone is aware that a new leadership style coming is going to be a little bit different, and people like to put their stamp on things. It's not just leadership, though. It's also about new people joining Twitter, because these new people will be hired based on the ideals that Musk basically cares about and states that he needs, not what Twitter has done before. So culture isn't easy, and leadership is extremely hard. And look, this is what's really pushed me to finally write about everything leadership in my book, Life Centric Leadership. If you want to see more videos on leadership and business, feel free to subscribe if you wish to. I always look forward to continuing to ask the hard questions, have a look at what's happening at the moment, and really look at business culture and leadership. Take care, and I shall see you soon.